Nearly 2 weeks after the U.S. and Israel attacked Iran's nuclear facilities, it remains unclear how much of a setback it dealt the country's ambitions to obtain the ultimate weapon. Tulsi Gabbard says Iran could produce nuclear weapons within weeks, months after she testified before Congress that the country was not building them. The U.S. Director of National Intelligence said her March testimony, in which she said Iran had a stock of materials but was not building these weapons, had been taken out of context by dishonest media. Her change of position came after Donald Trump said she was wrong and that intelligence showed Iran had a tremendous amount of material and could have a nuclear weapon within months. Some nuclear proliferation experts told ABC News they believe the strikes could lead to a fork-in-the-road moment that results in Tehran taking a more dangerous and secretive path to obtaining nuclear arms if it chooses to do so. On Wednesday, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian signed a bill approved last week by Iran's parliament to halt cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, the United Nations nuclear watchdog. Iran's powerful 12-member Guardian Council, half of which is appointed by Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has also signed off on the bill. This suspension will remain in effect until certain conditions are met, including the guaranteed security of nuclear facilities and scientists, Iran's state television reported, quoting from the bill. In the meantime, Iran is allowing no outside independent body into the country to verify the status of its nuclear program, leaving the country to rebuild its nuclear infrastructure virtually in secret. The State Department called the move unacceptable, saying that Iran has a window of opportunity to reverse course and choose a path of peace and prosperity, spokesperson Tammy Bruce said Wednesday. Unlike other countries that were able to develop nuclear weapons in secret, Iran cannot assume it will be able to keep its work hidden. Israel has demonstrated repeatedly it can evade Iran's security, uncover its clandestine nuclear activities, and hunt down senior figures in the military, former intelligence officials and experts said. Iran's principal challenge in pursuing a covert pathway is going to be keeping it hidden from U.S. and Israeli detection, said Eric Brewer, a former intelligence official now with the Nuclear Threat Initiative, a nonprofit focusing on global security. That's the key challenge because both countries, particularly Israel, have demonstrated an ability to penetrate Iran's nuclear program, he added, and Israel has demonstrated an ability to use kinetic force to take it out. Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sayar slammed Iran's decision as scandalous, saying in a social media post, "This is a complete renunciation of all its Iran's international nuclear obligations and commitments. The international community must act decisively now and utilize all means at its disposal to stop Iranian nuclear ambitions," Sayar said. Some nuclear arms experts said they're worried the move could also prompt Iran to pull out of the 57-year-old Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons Treaty, NPT. The last country to pull out of the NPT was North Korea. Iran is still evaluating whether it will stay in the NPT, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said on Iranian state TV following the vote by parliament last week. The NPT also requires inspections by the IAEA to verify compliance with the treaty, so it remains unclear how Iran will comply with this aspect of the treaty given the new law. Whether or not Iran will stay in the NPT needs to be investigated, according to Araghchi, who added that Iran will act accordingly with the interest of the country. The NPT, signed by 191 countries in 1968, said countries, other than those certified as nuclear powers, cannot develop nuclear weapons. All of the other points Gabbard made outside of the singular statement that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon point to them being very close to building one, the official said. During her testimony, Gabbard said Iran developed and maintained ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and UAVs, including systems capable of striking U.S. targets and allies in the region. She added that the intelligence community is closely monitoring if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program. In the past year, we have seen an erosion of a decades-long taboo in Iran on discussing nuclear weapons in public, likely emboldening nuclear weapons advocates within Iran's decision-making apparatus. The International Atomic Energy Agency, the global nuclear watchdog, passed a resolution that stated Iran breached its non-proliferation agreements and has been illegally stockpiling enriched uranium. The vote came following a report detailing inspections of the country's facilities that found that Iran stockpiled more than 400 kilograms of highly enriched uranium. We have been seeking explanations and clarifications from Iran for the presence of these uranium particles, including through a number of high-level meetings and consultations in which I have been personally involved. IAEA Director General Rafael Mariano Grossi wrote in a statement, "Unfortunately, Iran has repeatedly either not answered or not provided technically credible answers to the agency's questions. It has also sought to sanitize the locations, which has impeded agency verification activities," he added. Grossi said that the IAEA is not in a position to determine whether the related nuclear material is still outside of safeguards. Iran's leaders have refuted the allegations, claiming that they are not seeking to build a nuclear weapon and calling the resolution political. The last time a U.S. officially publicly gave a breakout timeline was in July 2024, when then Secretary of State Antony Blinken said it was 1 and 2 weeks. That's how long Iran would need to take the uranium it has and enrich enough of it to level it would need to be, around 90%, to have fissile material for a nuclear weapon. After getting enough weapons-grade uranium, most experts estimate it would take Iran between several months to 2 years to actually make a deliverable nuclear warhead, but some think they could get it done a little faster, maybe in as little as 5-6 weeks. Once you're at 60, you're 90% of the way there. You are, in essence, a threshold nuclear weapons state, which is what Iran basically has become, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said in an interview last month. Yet the country's uranium enrichment at 60% was merely days away from being enriched at a weapons-grade level, setting a timeline of several months to a year for Tehran to potentially mount a nuclear warhead on a missile, according to Kelsey Davenport, Director for Non-Proliferation Policy at the Arms Control Association. What was true last week, and may still be true today, is that Iran can produce enough weapons-grade uranium for 8 to 10 bombs in a matter of weeks, Davenport said. But that's the production of the fissile material. Iran would still need to weaponize that, which includes converting it into metallic form and fitting it with an explosive package. Now that the dust has settled, Israel is again calling on European nations that are still part of the Obama-era JCPOA to reimpose UN sanctions against Iran. Irath said that if Iran pulled out of the NPT, it would send a dangerous signal to the world. It would signal they are serious about acquiring nuclear weapons. It would be serious and would get the attention of a lot of people, Irath told ABC News. Thus far, they have avoided doing so because it's an international standard that is very important to a lot of people worldwide. Irath added, Iran, don't want to put themselves in a category with North Korea as a state that withdrew from the NPT and cast themselves as an international pariah. On Sunday, French President Emmanuel Macron said in a message posted on the social media platform X that he had spoken by phone to Pezeshkian and urged him to return to the negotiating table and hash out a deal to allow the IAEA to resume inspections of